Hello, I'm retired Battalion Chief Larry Cockman, Chairman of the Greensboro Fire Department History Book Committee. The American Fire Service is rich in tradition and culture. A firefighter's life is filled with many emotional highs and lows. Stories of major fires, national disasters, medical calls, firehouse living, and family life are often verbally shared from one generation to another. Many times, these stories are lost forever when a firefighter passes away. In an effort to preserve these stories, in 2019, the Greensboro Fire Department History Book Committee launched a new program of recording audio-video of our retirees' lives. These stories will be shared on our website, gfhbc.org. In 2020, we did not record because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Please listen as these firefighters share their life experiences with all of us.
My name is Kenneth Earl Cockman, C-O-C-K-M-A-N. I'm 60 years old. I had 30 and a half years of service, and I retired as a fire captain. I was raised in Brown Summit, North Carolina, and I still live there today. I am related to some. Larry Cockman, Raymond Cockman. I didn't know Raymond, but I actually went to school with Raymond's kids. Woody Parish is distant, and my son-in-law is on the department today. What I was doing before I got on the department, I was doing heating and air work. When I got out of school, my college was the College of Cone Mills. I worked there for a while on the air conditioning crew, and I wanted to get out of the mill, and so I took a job, public job doing heating and air work, and before I was able to get on with the department. The hiring process, well, it was different because it took me, I think, 5 tries to get on, and it changed a little bit, but I think the one that I got hired on, we went out and we picked up hose, put it in the bed of the truck, rolled hose, raised a pompier ladder. We would sit in the window and take it up to the next level and turn it. We didn't get to climb it, but that was part of the process. An interview, and then we just kind of waited on the word that we was hired. My starting salary was just a little under $16,000 a year. Training, it was different. I knew 2 of the guys, Tommy Braswell and David Brame, going into it. But that morning, our first day, we walk in and it is dead quiet. Nobody's speaking. And, but from that point on, we got to learning each other and trusting each other. And we was a very close-knit training class. Me, David Brame, Tommy Braswell, Pat Henley, Tim Pitts, Craig Smith, Don Smith, and there was several more, but it was 25 of us all together, and that included 2 from Reedsville. We was the 38th recruit class. Funny stories in training. Well, yeah, we plugging sprinklers. That was really good because we always tried to get the instructors, and we had spears, and everybody wanted to take him down, but he was a tough bird, let me tell you. Paul Brooks, he was tough, but at the end they would bolt because they knew what was coming. They knew they was going to get wet and we was going to get wet. But that was tough. When did I think that firefighting was for me? I kind of felt it as when I went in. I volunteered and I enjoyed it. But it wasn't until I got to Greensboro and, started fighting fire and seeing, having all the medical calls. Because there was a lot of stuff that I'd never been exposed to. And death, that was something that I had never experienced, doing CPR on folks and, them not making it or something. But just helping people. I enjoyed it. And to me, it wasn't about pay. It was about what I could do to help folks on their worst day. My first assignment was Engine 1, B shift. My company officer was Danny Underwood. Battalion chief was Carl Martineller. Johnny Cole was the driver. Andrew Nyland was second driver, and me and Don Smith. Captain Underwood was he was unique in himself. He never was really the jokester, but he was very smart, and he tried to instill in us the right way to do things. Of course, we had oh man, it just slipped my mind. That Captain on Engine 2. Anyway, there was enough pranks going on that Captain Underwood didn't have to. I had Ralph. Lloyd Halsey. Lloyd Halsey was the captain on Engine 2, and with Lloyd was full of jokes. So he picked up what Underwood couldn't do. My nickname that I'd picked up, which was basically my middle name. A lot of folks called me Earl. The chief of the fire department, he called me Red because he said I was a Brown Summit redneck. So that was from the chief. Pranks and jokes. A lot of them went on at the firehouse. Some of them you don't really want to talk about, but one that got me, I was assigned to Engine 1, and I had Kyle Stewart as a captain. And this was after the house sets was put in. When I first came on, we didn't have house sets. We listened to all the calls all night long. But I was the rookie, and when I had two companies, if Engine 2 went out, I had to set the monitor. And it was in a closet on the bay floor. And I go out in the middle of the night because the deuce had left. And I opened the door, and there's Kyle Stewart with his arms up, and he hollers, and I couldn't run. I mean, I just had to stand there. And we had one, Joe Williams. We was going to mess with him. Joe always laid his pants beside the bed at night. And so he'd gone to bed, gone to sleep. And Mitzi was on a different shift. We went in there and got a pair of Mitzi's pants and swapped them out with him. And we didn't get a call that night. So Captain Lewis, he got on the speaker and said, we got a call, the house set didn't go off. So we're standing at the kitchen in Station 1, and we hear the door open, and here comes Joe hopping down the hall, trying to get in those pants. So it was a lot of pranks, a lot of fun. It was active. I was not a member at that time. There seemed to be, it was at the time where they had put the union members at their own stations. And I didn't want to get involved in all of that. I mean, I was there to do a job. But now later on in my career, things turned around. The union started doing some stuff for the firefighters, and I did join. Yes, we cooked together every day. From the time I come on until I retired, we cooked. We rotated. Everybody had their turn. Everybody had their little specialty, whether it was good or some of it was bad. Um, but do I think that's essential? Absolutely. We had more conversation. Um, you bonded with guys. You talked trash about their food. Sometimes you got up and you threw it away, and we all laughed it off. But yeah, I mean, it was to me that was a key part of bonding and making friendships. Was I a good cook? I was pretty good. I was that cook that when it was my day to cook, I was in the kitchen all day, and they kind of laughed at me. But after we cleaned up in the morning, I'd start prepping. Uh, I cooked I cooked fried chicken and potato salad and fried apples, and or I'd fix a meatloaf, and it was fried chicken was a good favorite. Um, Meatloaf, country style steak, um, and I had learned that from the guys through the years. I mean, that's. uh, um, Private cubicles versus the dormitory. All of my career, except for one station until I made captain, I was in an open dormitory. Um, People snored. They'd argue over the TV, but I mean, but it was good. We learned each other. We had a ball. We throwed pillows. We throwed toilet paper. People snoring. But on the other hand, when I went to Station 12, they had already made the open dormitory, into cubicles. And that's where I had decided I was going to do the captain's process. So it was good for me for studying, but I like the open better. But it don't really matter to me. But I'm sure most folks now would rather have the cubicles. Downtime for today's firefighters. I've been by a couple stations, and those guys, I'd see them sitting around a table or sitting in the TV room, or I've seen them sitting outside talking. The younger generation, they don't talk as much as the old heads do. They're on iPhones, and I guess they text each other. I don't know, in the cubicles, but I don't know if they communicate like we did. When a retired firefighter would come by the station, I'd put on a pot of coffee and let them sit down, and because their stories are just, I mean, they're awesome. These guys are the ones that that lived before us, paved the way, if you want to say it that way. But just their wisdom and what they've been through. They did things different than we did. And I know we do things different than the guys on the line today. When I was at Old Seven, the Hatters Club, they would have their yearly meetings and they'd have it at 7. And I would get my guys and bring them in there and introduce them to these guys. And, then they'd start talking. And, well, my guys just kind of sit there and all. Because, these, these guys was jokesters, but they was some firefighting machines back in the day. The value of these interviews, I think it is very essential. The young guys need to sit down and look at these interviews. I didn't realize the stories that these guys have, especially folks that I'd never been stationed with. So I got caught up watching them, from A.B. Kimmel to Danny Underwood to J.E. McCarter. I mean, golly, these guys tell their life history as a firefighter, and it's valuable. My first call, when I was on Engine 1, was a vehicle fire over in Irving Park, and it was actually my kid's pediatrician's house, Dr. Moore. He was having his carpets cleaned, and the truck caught on fire. Medical calls. When I came on, the squad wrote all the medical calls, unless it was something of significance that the battalion chief would send the engine company with. My first medical call, I'm thinking it was at 2314 North Church Street at Hall Towers. The value of the fire department responding to medical calls is essential. There's so much technology and medical training that the firefighters get now. There's way more fire trucks than there are EMS units. The stations are placed throughout the city. So, I mean, you're looking at a 3-minute run time versus maybe a 5-minute run time for EMS, because if they're busy, they don't have, they pull a med truck out of the county in to ride calls. So it is a plus for the patient, and it's a plus for the city. We had the lodge on Randolph Avenue. We had Broome Road fire. We had, I think it's New Home Builders. I was on the second fire they had there. I was on the Ireland House fire. I've been on, right many big fires. And I include in that some of the big houses in the territory that I'd been in. I was on duty, and we sent the tank fire on out on 40. We was on duty. I was at Station 7, and we didn't get to go, but they called and they needed somebody to go get a truck with a foam nozzle on it. Well, the guy that I sent didn't know much about Greensboro. He wound up in Kernersville. So they reeled him in. Of course, he didn't miss it by far. So they reeled him back in, and they got the piece of equipment there. 9/11. I was on duty at Station 1, and we had heard that a plane had crashed into the Trade Center. So I walked next door to the training facility, and I was in Captain Smithy's office, and we was watching it. And then we seen the second plane fly in. I didn't really grasp how big it was until later, when you think about losing a brother firefighter here in Greensboro, and we've had some. I had one in training, and it was tough, but that was a lot of folks, and we didn't have enough firefighters that they had to die in the Trade Center. So it's like losing a brother, whether it's in Greensboro or California or New York. And you know that the department there was hurting. So I kind of know what the feeling is to lose somebody close like that, but then you times that by 300 and something. It's just, it'd be a tough pill to swallow. Mentors in my career, it's kind of two-sided. There's, I guess, the firefighting aspect of it. And then you had guys that I guess you would call them life lessons. On the firefighting end, some of the first that come to mind is Cliff Oakley. I had Cliff at Station 4. We had some really good fires, but you wouldn't know he was on fire. I mean, he was so calm, and you'd think, wow. I mean, this guy, he don't lose his cool, and was fire smart. J.E. McCarter. J.E. McCarter he just loved to fight fire in general. And a quick story on J.E. We had a house fire on Ashburn Street. And it was a 2-story house. It was down there where Bimbo Road came into it. And when we got there, I was on Squad 7. They said that there was an 8-year-old little boy upstairs. So we go in. We're in a stairwell that goes up, and the stairwell turns. There's a porthole here. We get in. We're behind. Tommy Brown was on the nozzle, and J.E. was behind him. Me and Danny Lynch come in, and we're behind them. And we're trying to get into the second floor. And it was kicking our butts. Well, it got so bad that they pulled us out. Well, J.E., with a kid involved, he was going to do everything in his power. So he said, look out that window and tell me what that fire is doing. So I get up and I look out the porthole window. Fire is blowing out the roof, and it's blowing horizontal about 10 foot before it even turned up. So I told J.E., I said, J.E., it's bad. I said, it's blowing out. And so he didn't get upset. So he gets on the radio and tells command, he said, give me 5 minutes. The end story was we didn't get to the kid. So that was tough. But Jay had that mentality, the firefighting mentality. Chuck Smith, I fought some fire with Chuck that I kind of thought, I ain't sure about this. And he was pretty smooth, and we went from one end of the house. The ceiling was falling in on us. He never checked up. So, and then other mentors, Charlie Jones, I picked up not the competitiveness, but Charlie taught me a lot about how to treat people. And I seen Charlie in action, and that was, he was a mentor.
Did the job
changes in the fire department during my career? Yeah, there was a lot of changes. Like I said, when I came on, you didn't sleep at night. We didn't have the monitors that just toned your station out or your company. We listened to everything in the city all night long. So all the squads was running. So we went to the monitors that toned us out. Engine companies and ladder companies started riding med calls, and the squads were phased out. And I understand why there's more folks, but I was lucky enough. I got to ride Squad 7 for 5 years, and it was unsupervised. You put 2 firefighters on a truck with no company officer. But we would run north city limit, south to city limit, over to Elm Street. But it made sense to let the engine start running. So that was a change. After 9/11, training changed for the good. We started training to protect us. Stations have changed. Apparatus has changed. I went from a 1974 open cab, straight gear, non-synchronized, no power steering truck to a Cadillac. When we got air conditioning, I thought that was the best thing since sliced bread. Would I do it all again? Yes, I'd do it all again. Would I change anything? I don't think so. I think that when we're born, that God has a plan, and we're here for a purpose. And so I think that every situation I was in, every fire, every death, every life saved, I think that was what I was supposed to do. So I don't think I would change anything for that reason.
What was your most heartbreaking moment?
My most heartbreaking moment on the department. Um, in training, we lost a guy, Tim Parrish. Um, we all met at Tommy Browsell's house, and that was our study group. And that day, when I came on, I was 25 years old. I had a special needs daughter, and I had a 2-month-old. So my studying, most of it was away from the house until late at night after they went to bed. Then I would study at home. But that day, which was, I'm pretty sure it was a Sunday, I had things to do. So I wasn't there. But we lost a brother firefighter, and we hadn't met him. I mean, we was 30 days in, and we were still learning each other. And he was a great guy. I mean, but he had 2 young kids. But to lose him, that was pretty devastating to start a career.
Yeah, I've always had a lot of respect for you and the way you do things, the way you live your life, and some of the things you faced in your life. I don't know if I could have done it like you did it, but I know you lost your daughter. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we lost our special needs daughter, December 4th of 21. She, and we're not really sure what happened, but she was born with spina bifida, but you'd have thought that she was a firefighter. She came to the station and she had a little walker, and she was station one. She was up and down the ramp, and gosh, she knew all the firemen, and but she's in a better place. I'm a better man because of her.
How do you think
Firefighters coping with death? I've had my first house fire when I came on the department. I was on engine 1, and we had a house fire with engine 14 on McKnight Mill Road. And my first big fire, we had 2 fire deaths. And we went back to the station, and this is that open bedroom thing. And we got into bed and we got back, and and we just started talking, and we got it out. We told what we thought, and it wasn't nothing formal, and just kind of went through the motions. And like I had said before, death, was something that was, I'd never had to deal with, that much. But I had 2 little boys on I-40 that was killed in a car wreck. They were brothers. They was like 8 and 10. We had to put those young kids in body bags. Um, we had a fire off of Florida Street that when I went in, um, I crawled up upon a body and we got him out. And it was my 8th grade social studies teacher from Northeast. But death, I guess I had a place in the back of my mind that I put it because I knew I had a job to do, and I tried to just stow it away, stay focused on what I had to do. But and a lot of times, like I say, we would talk about it. A proud moment, I guess. One of them was graduating training. I was not a brainiac. I was an old country boy, and I had decent grades in school, but I was a 25-year-old guy that had been out of school, so I hadn't studied, that much, and having a special needs daughter and a baby, and trying to study. So I thought that was a pretty good accomplishment to get through that with my wife's help. The other one, I was on my career. I had 6 life-saving awards for getting people out of fire. We had 5 of them at one time on a call on Barron Walk. We got the mother and 4 children out, all of them lifeless, and we was able to get them out. It was us and Engine 4, and we was able to get the mother out and the kids out, and we saved every one of them. That was a proud moment in itself. Do wives play a role in the success of a firefighter? Absolutely. A firefighter's wife probably needs a Nobel Peace Prize, to be honest with you, because holidays, birthdays, Sundays, every third day that I was gone, Angie was mom and dad. She had to referee. She had to take care of the baby, take care of Ashley. Then Casey came along. And so she had 3 kids there. And I know it was tough. I didn't realize how tough it was then, because when you're not in the situation, you don't really know. But I see it more now with my son-in-law on the department. And when he's at the station, we'll go by, and just all the stuff that my wife helps my daughter do. So my wife was the backbone of my career. The roles of firefighters changed since I came on. Well, just the fire department in general has changed. They train way more than we did. They do more. I mean, on medical calls, back in the day when I was on the squad, we got the defibrillators, And, that was about the extent of, that would be like a worst case scenario. But, now, firefighters are, they're EPIs, Narcan, they're given drugs. And, we never did that, back in our day. And of course, firefighting has changed over the years. Fires hotter, fires are bigger. It ain't wood; it's all plastic. So a lot of things with firefighters changed since I left. If I spoke to the rookie class and described a firefighter, a successful firefighter, I would tell them that a successful firefighter is that guy that, to me, is the guy that he goes that extra mile. He trains like he lives. Listen to folks that have been there. Listen to I learned more by listening to the old heads that I spoke about. But listen, and you'll be successful. But put your mind on what you want to do. Go for it. Put 100% into it. That's the guy that's going to be successful. Faith in my life as a firefighter, absolutely. When I was a company officer, especially when I was a company officer, on most days on my drive in, which even as a captain, when I would go to the station, I'd still ride around the territory. And most mornings, I had my ride there, and I'd talk to God and tell him, say, look, let me make good decisions. Don't let me do anything stupid. These guys need to go home. I need to go home in the morning. So give me the wisdom and the vision to see what I need to see to keep these guys safe. My health is pretty good. Riding a fire truck for 30 some years, it's tough on a body. I think it wears a body down. I was talking to a guy this morning that I think that they really need to back down to a 25-year retirement because, up and down on a fire truck, throwing ladders, picking equipment up, because when you're on a fire, 9 times out of 10, you ain't going to use proper technique to pick things up. You're in certain situations, and you're not going to do things the way you're supposed to. So that wears on a body. I've had a total hip replacement right before I left in 17. I've had both shoulders, and a little bit of back issue going on, but I mean, overall health is good, but just joints, arms, legs, back. Firefighting's tough on them, and knees. what would I want the department to remember about me is that, well, I would want them to think that I was a good person, and that I was a caring person. Um, I cared for my men um, that I had, um, that I was fair, um, that I was um, I was a guy that wanted you to know your job and do your job, but I was also one that would be right there with you until the end. You know, you may get in trouble, and when you have to go before the chief, I'd be there with him. Right, wrong, and different, I'd be with him. So being um, fair would be what I would want to be remembered about. What I would want my family to remember me is that that I loved them unconditionally, that um, I trusted in the Lord, and that I cared and wanted the best for them. This is kind of odd. I spent 18 years on a pumper. 5 of those 18 was on the squad. So the rest of my career was on a ladder truck. Um, so I have climbed on roofs. I have cut holes out of the bucket. Um, I have climbed a ladder going up to vent a roof, and when whoever threw the ladder, Matt Smith went up in front of me with a chainsaw. When I went up behind him, the ladder started retracting. So when they threw the ladder, it was upside down. Now, how Matt Smith got up it and it didn't come down, I ain't got a clue. But with that being said, today I hate heights. Very seldom will I get on a ladder. So that's kind of odd in itself. All them years on a truck company, and now I don't like to get on a ladder. I've got a travel trailer, and me and my bride and them 2 boxers I got, we love to go camping. We go to Myrtle Beach, we go to Jordan Lake, but it's just a time to sit back and relax. I love to grill. I love to be outside cooking. So that's our downtime. Something that that I really when I retired and we had a hot dog lunch, and you give a little talk. My guys, they talked about me, and my son-in-law got up, and that was pretty special. But I worked 30 years, and I think it was 8 months. And I'm gonna tell you, best job that I have ever had. Every day, I wanted to get up and go to work. I wanted to ride that fire truck. and I was like that. From the time I was a kid, when I seen the trucks go by. And then in '78, I joined the volunteer station at 13. And of course, I was a junior firefighter. I didn't get to ride the truck. So when a call come in, we just went to the station. But I mean, it's just the job as a firefighter. Every day wasn't glorious. You get out there and some days you twisting stems and you may be out doing building inspections that we done, but even the things that you really didn't care a whole lot about, we still had a lot of fun. So, it's kind of hard for me to say that it was a job. It was what I wanted to do. I had fun. The people we carried on stuff all day long and had fun at it. But, when the beeper hit, it was time to be serious. And we did. But, just the fire department in general, I couldn't have done anything better with my life. Start off, it didn't pay very well. But we adjusted and we made it through. And the guys now, I think they're making pretty good money. But in a nutshell, best job I ever had.
There you go. Thank you. Well, in closing, the Greensboro Firefighters History Book Committee hopes you have gained a greater insight into the dangers, the challenges, and emotional events that have influenced and shaped the American firefighter.